What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here, back with another preview. This time, it's for the Puerto Rico Open. So, if you're playing the Puerto Rico Open, you have realized that it is a pretty soft field. It's competing with the WGC match play, so the 64 best players in the world are all in Austin, Texas, competing in the match play, leaving all the leftovers to play in Puerto Rico for this title. This is the type of tournament where at first I would say let's cut back exposure, let's just enjoy the week, enjoy the match play, and have a little exposure for the Puerto Rico Open. But these are the type of weeks that the thinking player and the player that's been following the PGA Tour all season really has a significant edge, because there's a lot of no names. The general public is not aware of half of these players. So if we can identify a few value plays, I think the edge is significantly larger for better players this week. So let's waste no more time. Let's get into it. All right, here is the lobby. A couple of guys right off the top here. If you've followed me before, you know that I'm a big fan of BRYAN. I said a few weeks ago that he is going to win on tour at some point. This guy will win. He'll find a way. The odds-on favorite to do that this week, according to Las Vegas, I believe he's 12 to 1, will be very popular. Here's a guy who, before the Arnold Palmer on just an absolutely ridiculous course in a ridiculous field, he comes off, 3 straight top 7 finishes. So no concerns about BRYAN. I'd feel free to just fire him right back up, but again, he's probably going to be fairly popular. And a lot of these top guys are. I want to skip around a little bit because Luke List is going to probably be the highest owned golfer of the week. Checks off all the boxes. He's the absolute chalk. He's a long hitter. He's had good success here in the past, I believe. Let me find Luke List here. So tied for 15th last year, but I'm going to show you my key statistics spreadsheet, and you'll see that Luke List is by far my #1 golfer this week, just in terms of stats. He leads the field in driving distance, hits a ton of greens, which is going to be important. This is an absolute bomber's paradise. Like hit the ball far and have no concerns. You're going to have to make a lot of birdies. He's #1 in birdie or better. He's #1 in par 5 scoring, 10th in bogey avoidance. He checks off all the boxes. He is by far the #1 golfer. From a game theory standpoint, you will not get him less than 25% owned, maybe 30%. I don't know. It's going to be a lot, so keep that in mind. On the flip side, as a pivot to Luke List, I like Peter Uihlein. So here is a guy who plays the majority of his golf on the European Tour, and he plays very, very well. So if you just look at let's look at his last 7 tournaments. He's made 7 straight cuts. He has 3 top 7 finishes, a few more like top 15, top 17s. Really solid golfer. One of these guys that the general public probably is unaware of since he spent so much time on the Euro Tour. He hasn't played on the PGA Tour, I believe, since 2015, but he's priced at $10,100 for a reason, right? Super good golfer. Vegas loves him. I just don't think that there's going to be a lot of support from the general public this week. All right, I'll try to go quick here for the next couple guys. Graham McDowell will be popular. He's probably the big name in this field. Scott Brown, interesting. When's the last time you've seen a guy miss 2 straight cuts and his price goes up $2,900 on DraftKings? Very indicative of this field and indicative of Scott Brown's record here. Last 5 trips, he's 5 for 5 with 4 top 10s, including a win. Really good course history, really good tournament stats, but coming off 2 straight cuts, I think he's going to be very popular. And if you were going to fade one of these guys, my fade is probably Scott Brown. At the Arnold Palmer, he shoots 82.71. I know these are much different courses, but that's not a good look. So I think if you're trying to figure out, should I fade Brown? Should I fade Luke List? Which one of these guys who's going to be popular should I not play? I'm leaning towards just avoiding Scott Brown, but I think he'll be highly owned. All right, here's an interesting one. Again, another guy who will be popular. I swear we'll talk about guys who are not going to be popular in a second, but I have to point these guys out. Harold Varner III. So, going to be really popular this week. Really volatile golfer, but he has a nice skill set, a skill set that can get fairly hot. You know, just 8, 9 tournaments ago, he goes out and wins the Australian PGA, which, you know, obviously is a weaker field, but so is this. But I like guys that have the ability to win. Has kind of been hit or miss since then, you know, alternating cuts and made cuts. So it's one of these things where Varner is a beneficiary of the field, I should say. But what doesn't add up here is his price. So Varner is 40-1 to win this thing according to Las Vegas. If I pull up my odds to win here, 40-1 would probably put him in this range, which would be about 8,200 to 8,900 in DraftKings salary. He's only 7,300. So he is $900 cheaper than the cheapest guy in this price range that Vegas assigns, you know, to how often this guy's going to win. So that to me indicates significant value and an inefficiency in the pricing here on Varner. So again, he's going to be popular, but what you're buying into is the value and the equity in him only being 7,300 when he should probably be priced in the 82 to 89 range. Okay, also priced with Varner at 7,300 is Seamus Power, the Irishman. Remember was it at the Olympics he made a run? He made a deep run somewhere in like a big time event. I want to say it was the Olympics. Let me see if I can find that for a second. But anyway, here is a guy who, again, has been playing a lot more on the PGA Tour this year, so he has some results. T27 at the Valspar last time he teed it up, T39 at Pebble Beach, T21 at the Career Builder. You know, he's made, what's that, 4 out of 6 cuts on tour this year, and these aren't cheapo events. These are the schedule, man. Like, this is it. So Seamus Power, decent results, gets the benefit of just a incredibly weak field this week. But look at these stats. Those aren't my key stats. These are my key stats. So right here, Power is my 4th in the Power rankings. It's in his last name. This is the guy. So a very long hitter, 7th longest in the field. I do have a little bit of concern. I thought I read these greens are, oh man, I think in the top third of hardest greens to hit on tour. He doesn't hit a ton of greens. I mean, 42nd in the field is nothing special, but he's super long. He can make a lot of birdies. He kills par 5s, 4th best in the field. And here's what I like to see again, bogey avoidance. Even better than Luke List, better than Graham Dillette. Like, this guy's a legit player who I suspect will go overlooked, especially because 1, no one knows who he is, and 2, he's priced at the same price as Varner, who is going to be one of the highest owned golfers of the week. I'm trying to pull up the leaderboard here. Okay. As we continue down, I think there is at least one more guy. Tim Wilkinson, this isn't the guy I want to point out, but he makes a lot of cuts. 5 out of 6. I saw him play when I went to the Farmers Insurance, and I was actually pretty impressed with him live. I've kind of been keeping an eye on him all year. Seems to make a lot of cuts, but I'm not sure how deep he can go. Greg Owen, I wish he had better recent form coming in because, again, you saw that he was one of those guys that hit a lot of the stats for me. But there's someone else here. if I can find him. Here we go. It's George McNeil. So this is a really interesting situation, and I apologize. I'm kind of flipping all over the place trying to get. So Seamus Power finished in a tie for 15th at the Olympics. Maybe I was thinking about somebody else. I don't know. But that's a pretty good showing. But I thought he made a deep run somewhere recently. Anyway, George McNeil has played one event this calendar year. He's played 3 events since the start of the swing season. McNeil is a guy who is really interesting. So let's just pull this up here. If you look at, so this is my research spreadsheet that I put together every week on DFSOnDemand.com. If you look at the performance here, it ranks everyone by their average finish. So you'll see like Steve Marino is number 1 because he had 1 finish and he was in second. So that's an average finish of 2. As you get a couple more guys, like here's Graham DeLette, average finish of 15.5 because he's got, right, a 24th, 9th, 18th, and 11th. So it averages them. Okay, that's what it's doing. George McNeil is way down here in 33rd. But if you look at this, the DQ screws this up. The DQ, I think it either gives him a 70th or a 100th. I forget. I don't know if it does it on the cut line or if it gives him like a last place, but that throws off the average significantly. Because if you look at the other ones, 19th, 57th, not great, a win, and a 5th. So if we average those out, let's see how much better this would be. So 5, 57, 1, 19. So 20. 20.5 is what he would actually be ranked here if we got rid of the DQ, which would be 14th. So we'd be loving that. So good to get a guy who has won here before. Again, I wish his recent form was better, but I just think that some of the statistics out there and some of the performance stats out there may be a little misleading on this guy. So again, when you get down to the $6,400 range, you're not looking for anything special, and you're probably not going to get it out of a lot of these guys. But if you're really desperate, George McNeil's out there, and I don't think it's that bad. All right, that's it. 12.5 minutes is 12.5 minutes too long for the Puerto Rico Open. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand. I hope you guys enjoy this week. I hope you win a lot of money, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.